This video is made possible with the support of Headphones.com, the home of the 365-day return policy. Headphones.com has some of the best service and selection in the personal audio industry. Visit Headphones.com today for all your personal audio needs. Hey friends, good to see you again. If this is your first time checking out the channel, my name is Marcello. Welcome. In this video, I'll be reviewing the Meze Empyrean. Meze was founded in 2011 in Romania. The founder Antonio was on a quest to find a pair of headphones he could connect with in the same way he did with his Fender Stratocaster guitar. In 2015, Meze launched the 99 Classics, which received numerous awards. In 2018, Meze Audio came together with Renaro Isodynamics from Ukraine to develop, in my opinion, one of the most beautifully designed and incredible sounding headphones in the world. For this review, I'll be utilizing several headphone amps and digital analog converters to draw my conclusions about the sound of the Empyrean, as well as comparing the sound signature primarily to two other headphones I had on hand during the review, the ZMF Verite Open Desert Ironwood Limited Edition and the Rosson Audio RAD-0. I will discuss my audio chain throughout the review and will list the gear used in the video description as well so you can check them out. As with all my audio reviews, I will also provide my music playlists I use to evaluate the headphones so you can listen along with me. I'm not being compensated for this review and all thoughts and impressions are my own. The review will cover 5 main areas: build quality and comfort, quality of sound including bass, mids, and treble, tonality, imaging and soundstage, and lastly, synergy and comparisons. Then stick around to the end and I will give my overall conclusions and comparisons to a couple of other headphones. So let's jump right in. First off, I want to thank Taryn from Headphones.com for sending me out the Meze Empyrean for me to review. The support of great companies and individuals sending me products to review is a huge help for me to continue to bring you guys new content. So let's talk build quality, specs, comfort, and design. The Meze Empyrean comes in a really cool looking high strength aluminum suitcase that made me feel like a Romanian hitman when I opened it. Inside the case, you will find 2 sets of ear pads. One set is leather and the other is Alcantara. The ear pads have isomagnetic ear cup to ear pad coupling technology, which is a really fancy way of saying the ear cups attach in an absolutely brilliant way by the use of magnets and the demagnetizing field generated by the driver. Using this technology, Meze states the Empyrean is able to use the patented ferromagnetic plates to channel the magnet field back into the driver, increasing efficiency. This is by far my favorite pad swapping and attachment strategy I've utilized with headphones so far. You have the option to choose a 2.5 meter OFC cable with 4-pin mini XLR terminated plugs and a 6.3 jack, or a 1.2 meter OFC cable with a 3.5 jack, or a 2.5 meter OFC cable with a 4-pin XLR. Included with the purchase of the Empyrean is a 2-year warranty from Meze. I can definitely say the Empyrean are some of the best built headphones I've had the privilege of auditioning. They use a beautiful open ear cup design, and the cups are made from a lightweight sculpted aluminum skeleton that take, according to Meze, about 20 hours of CNC milling to create. The rest of the high precision cup is CNC sculpted from a single piece of solid aluminum. The Empyrean cups are a true piece of art. The Empyrean uses what Meze calls pressure distribution wings, allowing the leather headrest to relieve pressure points. I can confirm they work flawlessly for my head. The Empyrean are, at the time of filming this video, the most comfortable flagship headphone I have ever worn, weighing only 430 grams. The leather headrest is securely attached to a flexible carbon fiber headband, which attaches to the easily adjustable rods, allowing the headband to be adjusted for different size heads. So let's talk a little more about one of the most important parts about the design of the Empyrean, the isodynamic driver, manufactured by Renaro. Each driver is hand-assembled and tested in Ukraine. Housed in a fiberglass-infused ABS frame, the Renaro isoplanar diaphragm weighs only 0.16 grams, while still having 4,650 millimeters of active area. Using neodymium magnets in a hybrid magnet array, the magnets are positioned symmetrically on each side of the diaphragm, creating a highly efficient isodynamic magnetic field, allowing for uniform activation across the whole diaphragm surface. These hybrid dynamic array drivers utilize independently shaped voice coils within the same diaphragm, which deliver accurate audible performance. The Empyrean's drivers combine individual switchback and spiral-shaped voice coils, which allow sound to be more accurately targeted into the natural shape of the ear. By having a dual-driven system, Meze and Renaro have created an outstanding soundstage to my ears that I will discuss more when I get into the quality of sound. By allowing the switchback coil to focus on reproducing the lower frequencies and the spiral coil to focus on reproducing the middle and high frequencies directly over the ear canal, the Empyrean creates a sound that is very unique and all their own. The Meze Empyrean are fairly efficient, with an impedance rating of 31.6 ohms and 100 dB per 1 milliwatt. They have a maximum SPL of 130 dB and a THD of 0.1%. For the sake of time, I will link to the rest of the design specs and history of the Empyrean in the video description below, so you can dive in deeper, as there's a lot of other great tech stuff about the Empyrean worth checking out. While you're there, don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button for me. Now time for my favorite part. How did the Meze Empyrean sound? For the majority of my review, my impressions were based on the leather pads. Let's first talk about the bass on the Empyrean. Utilizing the switchback coil of the hybrid array to produce the lower frequencies, I was immediately struck by how killer bass sounded on this headphone. It very much reminded me of having a 2.1 speaker system, or in the case of the Empyrean, a 2.2 system with separate subwoofers, or switchback arrays in the case of the Empyrean, taking up the task of reproducing the lower frequencies. For me, having a 2.1 channel stereo system and a 5.1 channel surround system at home, I really enjoyed the unique headphone sound signature from the Empyrean. Their sound signature is very different from any other headphone I've ever tried. Having the switchback coil mounted above the spiral coil on the hybrid array allowed the sound sensation of bass to be perceived all around me on certain tracks. Electronic music to my ears sounds so good on the Empyrean. An incredible example of this is from Infected Mushroom, Return to the Sauce. Listening to the LYR 3 headphone tube hybrid amplifier paired with a Matrix Element X as the DAC, and this track just blew me away when listening to the Empyrean. Not only is there an excellent quantity and quality of sub-bass and mid-bass to my ears when listening, but the Empyrean packs a punch and is very dynamic when the bass hits. This is another quality I enjoy about them. Listening to Blinding Lights from The Weeknd on several tube amplifiers and digital analog converters, the Empyrean sounds incredible on this track. Again, tracks produced with good bass and sub-bass just sound really awesome to my ears. The 2016 remaster of Blue Monday from New Order just crushes it on the Empyrean. Listening via the Mogwai OG paired with a Cord TT2 as the DAC, and the ZMF Pendant paired with a Bifrost 2 as the DAC, the dynamic sound of the hybrid array, along with the open stage and the perceived sense of the bass just enveloping me, makes this song just really rock. Synthesizer off the All Blessed album from Faithless is a track that again shows off the excellent bass skills of the Empyrean, giving me tingles from the synthesizer production combined with the vocals and the dynamic bass hits. The next track on this album, Remember, has the switchback coils just rumbling the bass all around me while allowing the vocals to still come through clean and separate from that bass. It's really a cool sound signature. There are times on some tracks though, however, I did kind of hear some bass bleed into the mids, a little too much for my liking, and one really good example of this was Love from Lana Del Rey. I found there was just too much bass bleed into Lana's vocals, taking away from her voice a bit too much for my liking. How the bass presents itself will greatly come down to the track and the production on that specific track. I was extremely pleased with a warmer lower end from the Empyrean, especially with electronic music, rock, and the majority of pop. The mid-range on the Empyrean is very good for the majority of my test tracks, with excellent clarity and a slightly forward energetic sound in the upper mids to my ears. Strings have very enjoyable tonality to my ears, which I really enjoyed overall from violins, guitars, and the cello. The timbre of the Empyrean in the mid-range may not sound as sweet as some of the other headphones it competes with, but on the majority of recordings, the mid-range sounds good and different from the other headphones that I compared it to. I see this as a benefit, especially if you are the type of audiophile who likes multiple high-end headphones in your collection. And let's face it, there's a lot of us out there. With the upper mids sounding a bit more forward in the mix to my ears, some vocals actually sound more present and closer to me, which I really liked on most recordings. On some recordings, and especially when using more clinical sounding amplifiers I tested the Empyrean with, I didn't like the more energetic presentation of the upper mids as much as other headphones I compared them to. So your source gear, it's gonna be important. Your amplifier, your DAC, how you're gonna shape that sound with the type of source gear you're using, it's always important. So I utilize tube amplification versus EQ to do that because I'm a bit more of a purist at heart. I'll also discuss this a bit more in the synergy section of the review, so stay with me and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and do me a solid. Smash that like button for me if you haven't already. Treble to my ears sounds very good, allowing images to be well defined. The Empyrean have an open sound that is highly enjoyable, like being present at the actual performance. I didn't find the treble to ever come across harsh, which I thoroughly appreciated when listening to the Empyrean. Cymbals, snare drums, they're easily placed on the mix. The Empyrean sounds fast, present, with more than enough sparkle and detail for me to enjoy the music. You know, some people claim that there is not enough resolution or detail from the Empyrean. I have a bit of a different take on it. I think that there is plenty of detail there, and there's plenty of resolution when compared to other flagship headphones it competes with. The difference to my ears, I perceive it to be a little bit more natural and less in your face, whereas some of the so-called resolution kings in the flagship headphone space emphasize this region to make sure it really stands out in the mix. Let's talk next about the imaging and soundstage of the Meze Empyrean. To my ears, the Empyrean stage very well, sounding open, airy, and somewhat speaker-like in their presentation. Being able to test the Empyrean on an endgame tube amplifier such as the Nautilus from AmpsandSound, and then having the ability to switch and listen to my KEF LS50 Meta speakers, it was pretty amazing to hear how well the Empyrean actually mimicked the imaging and staging of excellent speakers. I was thoroughly impressed with the stage of the Empyrean, to say the least, and at the time of filming this video, would say it is one of my favorite stages I've heard for its ability to envelop me in the music, as well as their excellent imaging and overall euphonic sound quality. The Empyrean has a strong center image and very good left to right size stage width. The sound stage allowed me to easily place sounds on recordings such as Bubbles and Wandering from Yoshi Harakawa, all without the images sounding artificially sharpened. The easiest way for me to describe the stage of the Empyrean is it pulls me into the stage instead of some headphones that almost force you to focus on their stage. Okay, so let's get into audio chain synergy with the Empyrean, as well as a couple quick comparisons, then stick around for my overall conclusion. Always remember, anytime I'm describing my preferences or my impressions, they are my subjective impressions, and you may have a different opinion, which is totally cool. I respect that. So if you've been watching my channel for a little while now, you will have probably come to the conclusion that I tend to prefer pure tube amplification or hybrid tube amplification over the majority of solid state amplifiers I have heard. My top headphone amplifiers and digital analog converter combos that I enjoyed most with the Empyrean with my time with them was the AmpsandSound Nautilus paired with the NAD C658 Blue OS streamer, the ZMF Pendant paired with a Bifrost 2 or D90 Digital Analog Converter, the Mogwai OG paired with a D90 DAC or the Core TT2 DAC, and the LYR 3 paired with a Matrix Element X as its DAC. An honorable mention goes to the solid state amp DAC of the Core TT2, which I enjoyed most with the Empyrean of the solid state amps that I had on hand. I felt these amps and these DACs helped bring out the best of the Empyrean over the couple weeks I was able to listen to them. This again is going to come down to your preferences and what you like. For me, I'm a music first type of listener that strives to always listen with my ears and not my eyes, so I don't allow the measurements posted online by other reviewers to influence my impressions. Okay, so let's talk quickly about comparisons between the Empyrean, the Verite Open, and the RAD-0. To my ears, the Empyrean and the RAD-0 have the better bass presence, especially in the sub-bass region, making them the two headphones I preferred most for electronic music and some pop. All three headphones sound very dynamic and pack a great punch. The mid-range is a bit sweeter sounding from the Verite Open versus the Empyrean, with the majority of vocals sounding a bit warmer and more lush in their presentation. However, on some recordings, the vocals could sound a little farther away on the Verite than they did on the Empyrean. The RAD-0 has a very nice mid-range, closer to the warmer signature of the Verite, however, placing those vocals even a little further away on most tracks when comparing to the Empyrean and the Verite Open to my ears. The Empyrean to my ears had the most energetic upper mid-range of the three. I think treble is well executed in all three of these headphones. None of these headphones are what I would consider to be treble head tunings, which is probably why I like all three of them so much. Soundstage and imaging are most impressive to my ears from the Empyrean and the Verite Open, as they have the most three-dimensional and lifelike sounding stage. The RAD-0 images very well, but definitely has the smallest and least open sounding stage of the three headphones to my ears. Timbre-wise, I would say the most natural sounding to my ears, presenting the best tonality for the majority of music I listen to, would be the ZMF Verite, then the RAD-0, which to me sounds very much like a planar magnetic version of a ZMF headphone, which is a huge compliment to them, followed lastly by the timbre of the Empyrean. There is a caveat here though. The timbre and overall presentation of the Empyrean is one of my favorites so far, specifically for the majority of electronic music I listen to, followed closely by the RAD-0. All three of these headphones are beautiful looking and have incredible build quality that are uniquely their own. However, the Empyrean was the lightest and most comfortable, followed by the Verite Open and then the RAD-0. In conclusion, is the Empyrean right for you? As always, for the price of any of these headphones discussed during this review, you really need to hear them for yourself with your audio chain you have at home. Only then will you know if they are really right for you. That is why it is so important to choose an authorized dealer with a flexible return policy so you can make sure you're going to be happy with the headphones. The affiliate links I've included in the video description are a great place to start if you're interested in the Meze Empyrean. You also help to support me and the channel by using those links so I can keep bringing you more new content. Personally, I would love to own the Meze Empyrean, as electronic music is one of my favorite genres. To my ears at the time of this video, the Meze Empyrean are one of the best, if not the best headphone for electronic music I have heard so far. The Empyrean just crush it with electro, dub, house, trance, trip hop, ambient. All electronic music is just sounding so good. Tripping with Nils, Fram, Tycho, Massive Attack, Daft Punk, Kraftwerk, and many other electronic artists just sound so right to my ears on the Empyrean, as do a lot of other genres as well. The Empyrean are an absolute engineering achievement, with one of the most beautifully designed cups and drive arrays I've ever seen. They have excellent bass, an energetic mid-range, and excellent treble to my ears. Their soundstage is one of the most enjoyable stages I've heard from a headphone thus far, and lastly, comfort is at the time of this video the very best of any flagship headphone I've ever worn. They're definitely different, and they break the mold from what a flagship headphone should look and sound like, and I love that about them. Good for you, Meze, for being original. I'm going to be very sad to see the Empyrean go back to headphones.com, but I'm very grateful to Taryn and Andrew for the opportunity to audition them for a couple of weeks. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and show your support by using my affiliate links again in the description below if you're thinking about making a purchase. Also, visit my website online to see more content, photos, written reviews. Thanks again for watching, friends. Smash that like button for me, leave me a comment with your thoughts on the Empyrean and any other audio gear you want me to review next. Until next time, friends, much love.